I used to believe that a mother and her son share a bond that nothing in this world can break. Not distance, not time, not even love for another woman. I believed that because every book I read, every song I heard, every old woman I ever spoke to told me the same thing. A son never forgets his mother. A son always comes back. They were wrong. Or maybe they were right about other sons. Just not mine. My name is Margaret. I am 64 years old. I live in a 2-bedroom house at the end of a street that used to be full of children running and laughing and calling for their mothers. Now the street is quiet. The children grew up. The mothers grew old. And the houses sit still, holding memories that nobody comes to visit anymore. I had one child, a boy. His name is Thomas. Tommy, I used to call him when he was small. Tommy with the big brown eyes and the gap between his front teeth and the laugh that could fill an entire room. Tommy used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms and press his face against my arm and whisper, "Mama, stay." Tommy who used to pick dandelions from the yard and bring them to me like they were roses. Tommy who looked at me like I was the whole world. That Tommy is gone now. Not dead. No. Something worse in a way. He is alive. He is healthy. He is successful. He has a beautiful wife and a nice house and a life that looks perfect from the outside. He is just 30 minutes away from me. 30 minutes by car. I know because I have driven the route in my mind 1,000 times, but he does not call. He does not visit. He does not ask if I have eaten, if I have slept, if I am still breathing. He does not remember my birthday. He does not remember the anniversary of his father's death. He does not remember anything about the woman who spent 30 years making sure he had everything he needed. My son forgot me. After his marriage, he simply forgot me, like I was a chapter in a book he finished reading, like I was a place he used to live but no longer needs, like I was a pair of old shoes he left by the door and never came back for. And the hardest part, the part that keeps me awake at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling, is that I do not know what I did wrong. I have replayed every conversation, every moment, every word. And I cannot find the mistake. I cannot find the thing I said or did that made my son decide I was no longer worth remembering. So I sit here, in this quiet house, and I tell myself the same thing every day. He will call today. Today will be different. And every day the phone stays silent. And every night I go to bed with that silence wrapped around me like a blanket made of stone. This is my story, and I am telling it not because I want pity, not because I want you to feel sorry for me. I am telling it because somewhere out there, right now, there is another mother sitting in another quiet house, staring at another silent phone. And I want her to know that she is not invisible. Even if her son has made her feel that way, let me take you back to the beginning. Not to the pain, not yet. Let me take you back to the good part first. Because there was a good part, a beautiful part. And I think it is important to remember that before everything changed, there was so much love in this house that the walls could barely hold it. Thomas was born on a rainy Tuesday in April. I remember the rain because I had to drive myself to the hospital. My husband Carl was a truck driver. Long-haul routes across the state. He was somewhere between here and the coast when I called him and said, "Carl, the baby is coming." He panicked. I could hear it in his voice. I am 4 hours away, Maggie. 4 hours. Can you wait? I laughed. Even through the pain, I laughed. Carl, this baby is not going to wait for anyone. My neighbor Dorothy drove me to the hospital. She held my hand in the waiting room and told me jokes to keep me calm. Bad jokes. The kind that are so unfunny they circle back around to being funny again. And when Thomas finally arrived 7 pounds, 6 ounces, screaming like the world owed him an apology, Dorothy was the first person besides me to hold him. Carl arrived 6 hours later. He walked into the hospital room with mud on his boots and tears on his face. He took Thomas from my arms and held him up to the light, the way you hold something you cannot believe is real. And he said, Maggie, we made a person, a whole person. I smiled and said, yes, we did. And he has your nose. Carl laughed, that big, open laugh of his that shook his whole body. And for that one perfect moment, everything in the world was exactly right. Those early years were not easy. Carl was gone most of the time, driving his routes, earning the money that kept our little family going. I was home with Thomas, just the two of us day after day in this house, and I will not pretend it was not lonely sometimes. It was. There were days when the only adult voice I heard was the one on the radio. Days when I talked to the baby just to hear someone respond, even if his response was nothing more than a gurgle or a cry. But I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I loved the weight of him in my arms. I loved the smell of his head, that sweet, warm smell that only babies have. I loved the way he would grab my finger and hold on like I was the only solid thing in a spinning world. And in a way, I was. For those first years, I was his everything. And he was mine. Thomas grew up the way boys do, fast and messy and loud. He climbed trees and fell out of them. He brought home frogs and lizards and once a very angry raccoon that I had to chase out of the kitchen with a broom. He scraped his knees so often that I bought bandages in bulk. He asked 1,000 questions a day. Why is the sky blue? Why do dogs bark? Why does Daddy have to leave again? And I answered every single one, even when I did not know the answer, especially when I did not know the answer. Because a child does not need you to know everything. A child just needs you to try. Carl was a good man, a hard-working man, but his absences left marks on both of us. Thomas missed him. I could see it in the way he stood by the window on the days Carl was supposed to come home, watching for the truck. Waiting, and when the truck finally appeared at the end of the street, Thomas would run outside barefoot no matter the weather and throw himself at his father like he had been holding his breath for days and could finally let it out. Those reunions were beautiful, but they were also short. Carl would be home for a day, maybe 2, and then he was gone again. And Thomas would go back to the window, and I would go back to being both mother and father, teacher and friend, nurse and cook and storyteller and everything else a child needs. I did not mind. I want to be clear about that. I did not resent Carl. I did not resent the life we had. I understood that Carl was doing what he had to do to provide for us, and I was doing what I had to do to raise our son. We were a team, even when we were apart. We were holding the same rope from different ends. When Thomas was 12, something changed. Carl started getting tired more easily. He would come home from his routes and sleep for hours. He lost weight. He coughed at night, a deep, rattling cough that sounded like something was loose inside his chest. I told him to see a doctor. He said he was fine. He said it was just the road getting to him. He said he would rest more. He did not rest more. He kept driving. Because the bills kept coming. Because the mortgage did not care that his body was wearing out. Because that is what men like Carl did. They worked until they could not work anymore. And then they worked a little more. The diagnosis came when Thomas was 14. Lung cancer. Stage 3. The doctor said it calmly, the way doctors do, as if he was reading from a menu instead of handing us a death sentence. Carl sat in that office and nodded like he understood, but I could see his hands shaking. I could see the color drain from his face. I could see the moment he realized that he was not going to watch his son grow up. Carl fought. He fought hard. Treatments, hospital visits, medicines that made him sicker before they were supposed to make him better. For 2 years he fought, and I fought beside him. I drove him to every appointment. I held the bucket when he was sick. I rubbed his back when the pain was so bad he could not speak. I did it all with Thomas watching from the doorway, his big brown eyes full of fear and questions he was too afraid to ask. Carl died on a Sunday morning. Thomas was 16. I woke up next to my husband, and I knew before I even touched him. There is a stillness that the living do not have, a quietness that goes beyond sleep. I lay beside him for a long time. I held his hand. It was already cool, and I whispered, "Thank you, Carl. Thank you for everything. I will take it from here," and I did. After Carl died, I became everything for Thomas. I worked at the school cafeteria during the day, serving lunch to children who reminded me of my own, and cleaned office buildings at night. I came home smelling like floor polish and gravy, my feet swollen, my back aching, my eyes burning from tiredness. But I always made sure Thomas had dinner. I always checked his homework. I always sat on the edge of his bed at night and asked him about his day. He was quiet after his father died. The talkative, curious boy who asked 1,000 questions became a teenager who barely spoke. He spent hours in his room with the door closed. He played music I did not understand. He grew taller and thinner and more distant, the way teenagers do when grief gets its hands on them and will not let go. But he never pushed me away. Not then. Even in his quietest, darkest moments, Thomas never shut me out. He would come downstairs at midnight when he could not sleep and find me at the kitchen table, paying bills or writing lists. He would sit across from me without a word, and we would just be there together. 2 people holding the same grief, 2 people keeping each other from drowning. I held on to those moments. I stored them in my heart like treasures. Because I knew even then that they would not last forever. That one day my boy would grow up and leave and build a life of his own. And I was ready for that. I was ready to let him go. What I was not ready for was being forgotten. Thomas graduated high school with good grades. Not the best, but good enough. He got into a college 2 hours away, a state school with a decent business program. I drove him there on a hot August morning, his belongings packed into the back of our old car. Boxes of clothes, a desk lamp, a pillow from home. I helped him carry everything up 3 flights of stairs to a tiny dorm room that smelled like paint and possibility. When it was time to leave, I stood in the parking lot and looked up at his window. He was standing there, waving, and I waved back. And I smiled, and I got in the car. And I drove exactly 3 blocks before I had to pull over because I could not see the road through my tears. That was the first time my house felt empty. Not quiet. I was used to quiet. But empty, like someone had scooped out the insides of my life and left only the shell. Thomas called me every day that first semester. Every single day, sometimes just for a minute. "Hey, Mom, just checking in. Love you." Sometimes for an hour, telling me about his classes, his roommate, the girl in his history class who had red hair and a laugh he could not stop thinking about. I lived for those calls. They were the thread that connected me to my son, stretched thin across the miles but never breaking. He came home for the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, spring break. Each time, he was a little different, a little older, a little more like a man, and less like my boy. But he still sat at the kitchen table with me. He still ate my cooking. He still hugged me at the door when he arrived, and again when he left. And each time he left, I stood in the same parking lot in my mind and pulled over to cry. After college, Thomas got a job at a company in the city, an entry-level position, but it paid well enough for him to rent his own apartment. He was proud. I was proud. My boy, the boy I had raised alone, the boy I had fed and held and taught and loved through grief and poverty and loneliness, was standing on his own 2 feet. The calls became less frequent after that. Not every day anymore. Maybe 3 times a week. Then twice. Then once. I told myself it was normal. He was busy. He was building a career. He was becoming a man. And men, I told myself, do not call their mothers every day. That is just how it is. But I missed it. I missed his voice. I missed the sound of someone on the other end of the line who cared whether I was awake or asleep, happy or sad, alive or gone. Then he met Rachel. Thomas met Rachel at a work event. A company dinner, he said. She worked in marketing at the same firm. He described her to me over the phone: blonde hair, green eyes, sharp and funny and ambitious. He said she made him laugh. He said she made him feel like he could do anything. I was happy for him. Truly. A mother wants her son to find love. A mother wants her son to have someone who makes his eyes light up the way Thomas's eyes lit up when he talked about Rachel. I wanted that for him more than I wanted anything for myself. He brought her home to meet me about 3 months into their relationship. I prepared for days. I cleaned the house top to bottom. I cooked Carl's favorite pot roast, the one Thomas always asked for on birthdays. I put flowers on the table. I even bought a new tablecloth, the kind with lace edges, because I wanted everything to be perfect. I wanted Rachel to walk into my home and feel welcome. I wanted her to see where Thomas came from. I wanted her to see me. They arrived on a Saturday afternoon. Thomas came through the door first, smiling wider than I had seen him smile in years. And behind him was Rachel. She was pretty, very pretty, tall and slim, with her blonde hair pulled back in a neat ponytail and earrings that sparkled when she moved. She wore a white blouse and dark jeans and shoes that looked like they cost more than my weekly groceries. She shook my hand. Not a hug, a handshake. firm and polite, the way you greet a colleague, not a future family member. I noticed it, but I did not let it bother me. Some people are not huggers. That is okay, that does not mean anything. It is so nice to meet you, Mrs. Whitfield, she said. Please call me Margaret or Maggie. Everyone does. She smiled, a careful smile, the kind that sits on the surface and does not reach the eyes. Margaret it is, not Maggie, not Mom. Margaret, formal, measured, like she was drawing a line in the sand before we had even started. Dinner was awkward, not terribly so, but awkward in that quiet way where everyone is trying too hard and nobody is succeeding. I asked Rachel about her job. She gave short, polished answers. I asked about her family. She said they lived out of state and she did not see them much. I asked if she liked pot roast. She said she was trying to eat less red meat, but it was very kind of me to cook. Thomas filled the silences with nervous chatter. He talked about work, about the city, about a movie they had seen the week before. He was trying so hard to bridge the gap between us, his mother and his girlfriend, and he could feel that the bridge was not quite reaching. After dinner, Rachel excused herself to take a phone call. Thomas and I were alone in the kitchen. I was washing the dishes. He was drying them, just like old times. So, I said, "She seems nice. She is great, Mom. She is really great. I think you will love her once you get to know her." I nodded. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that this careful, polished woman would warm up over time, that she would eventually drop the handshake and reach for a hug, that she would call me Maggie or even Mom someday. I wanted to believe all of it. "Just give her time," Thomas said. "She is not great with new people, but she has a good heart." I smiled and said, "I am sure she does." They left that evening. Thomas hugged me at the door, a long, tight hug. Rachel waved from the car, and I stood on the porch and watched their taillights disappear down the quiet street. And I felt something. Not worry, exactly, more like a premonition. A sense that the ground beneath my feet was about to shift, and no matter how firmly I stood, I would not be able to stop it. Thomas and Rachel dated for a year and a half. During that time, I saw her 4 more times. 4 times in 18 months. Each visit was polite. Each visit was short. Each visit left me with the same feeling that Rachel was tolerating me rather than getting to know me, that I was an obligation she was checking off a list. The calls from Thomas dropped to once a week, then every other week. I would pick up the phone and hear the sound of Rachel in the background, her voice, her laughter, her opinions, and I realized that his world was no longer empty enough to need me to fill it. He had someone else now. Someone who was right there, in the same room, sharing the same life, and I was just a voice on a phone. A memory with a heartbeat. When Thomas called to tell me he was getting married, I was sitting in the kitchen, eating soup alone. It was a Thursday. I remember because Thursdays were the hardest days. I do not know why. They just were. Something about being so close to the weekend, but having no one to share it with. "Mom, I have news," he said. His voice was excited. Young, the way it used to sound when he was a boy and had something to show me. I asked Rachel to marry me. She said yes. I put down my spoon. I pressed my hand against my chest, and I said, "Oh, Tommy, that is wonderful. I am so happy for you." And I was. I was happy. But I was also something else. Something I could not name. It was like standing on the shore and watching the tide pull something out to see something you love, something you need, and knowing that you cannot swim fast enough to catch it. The wedding was planned quickly. Rachel wanted a spring wedding, a garden ceremony at a venue outside the city. Elegant, she said. Intimate, she said. 80 guests, which did not feel very intimate to me, but I kept that thought to myself. I was not involved in the planning. I offered. I called Thomas and said, "Can I help with anything? The flowers, the food, the invitations, anything at all?" He said he would ask Rachel. He called back 2 days later and said, "Rachel says everything is taken care of, but thanks, Mom, thanks, Mom." 2 words. Polite, dismissive. Like I had offered to carry someone's bags and they had said no, they had a cart. I went to the wedding alone. I drove myself. I wore a blue dress I had bought at a department store, nothing fancy, but it was the nicest thing I owned. I did my hair. I put on lipstick. I looked in the mirror and tried to see what my son would see when he looked at me. A proud mother. A happy mother. A mother who was not falling apart on the inside. The ceremony was beautiful. Rachel looked stunning in a long white gown. Thomas looked handsome in a dark suit. They stood under an arch covered in white roses and said their vows, and everyone smiled and clapped and wiped their eyes. I clapped too. I smiled too. I wiped my eyes too. But my tears were more complicated than everyone else's. They were happy and sad and scared all at once, mixed together like colors you cannot separate once they touch. At the reception, I was seated at a table near the back. Not the family table. Rachel's parents were at the family table. Her sister. Her college friends. I was at a table with some of Thomas's coworkers and a couple I had never met. They were nice people. They made conversation, but I spent most of the evening looking across the room at my son, watching him dance with his new wife, watching him laugh with her family, watching him become part of a world that did not include me. He came to my table once. Once. He bent down and kissed my cheek and said, "Thanks for coming, Mom. Are you having a good time?" "The best time," I said. He squeezed my shoulder and went back to Rachel, and I sat there with my slice of wedding cake and my glass of water and my blue department store dress, and I thought, this is it. This is the moment I start losing him. I did not know how right I was. After the wedding, the silence came. Not all at once. It crept in slowly, the way winter creeps in through October. A little colder each day, a little darker, a little harder to ignore. The first month after the honeymoon, Thomas called me twice. 2 calls in 30 days. The first was short 5 minutes, maybe. He sounded distracted. I could hear Rachel talking to someone in the background. He said they were settling into their new apartment. He said everything was great. He said he would call again soon. The second call came 2 weeks later, even shorter, 3 minutes. He was on his way somewhere. I could hear traffic. He said he was busy with work. He said Rachel was redecorating the apartment. He said they should have me over sometime. Sometime is a word that means nothing. It is a door that sounds like it is opening but is actually closing. I waited for the invitation. It did not come. I called him. I am not ashamed of that. A mother should not have to wait for permission to speak to her son. I called him on a Sunday morning, the time we used to talk when he was in college. The phone rang 5 times and went to voicemail. I left a message. "Hi, Tommy, just calling to say hello. I miss you. Call me when you can." He did not call back that day, or the next. On Wednesday, I got a text message. "Hey Mom, sorry I missed your call. Been super busy. We'll try to call this weekend. Love you. I will try. Try." As if calling your mother is something that requires effort. As if picking up the phone and saying, "How are you?" is an inconvenience that needs to be scheduled between more important things. He did not call that weekend. I tried not to take it personally. I told myself all the things that mothers tell themselves when their children pull away. He is an adult now. He has his own life. He has responsibilities. He has a wife. This is normal. This is healthy. This is what growing up looks like. But there is a difference between a son who is busy and a son who has forgotten. A busy son calls you at odd hours, 11 at night, 6 in the morning, during his lunch break, because he is thinking about you even when his schedule is full. A busy son sends a quick text that says, "Thinking of you, Mom." A busy son does not let weeks go by without a word. Thomas was not busy. Thomas was gone. I started keeping a notebook. I know that sounds strange, but I needed something concrete. Something I could look at to remind myself that I was not imagining things. I wrote down every call, every text, every contact, the date, the time, the length of the conversation. January, 2 calls. Total time, 8 minutes. February, 1 call. Total time, 4 minutes. 1 text message. March, no calls. 2 text messages. Both responses to messages I sent first. April, my birthday. Nothing. No call, no text, no card. Nothing. I sat at the kitchen table on my birthday and stared at that notebook. 63 years old. The woman who had raised Thomas alone, who had worked 2 jobs, who had buried her husband, who had given everything she had to make sure her son could stand on his own, and he could not remember the day she was born. I picked up the phone. I almost called him. My finger was on his name. But something stopped me. Pride, maybe. Or maybe it was not pride. Maybe it was just exhaustion. The exhaustion of always being the one who reaches out, the one who tries, the one who keeps the thread alive while the other person lets go. I put the phone down. I made myself a cup of tea. I sang happy birthday to myself in the kitchen, quietly, under my breath, feeling foolish and sad and invisible. Then I went to bed at 7:30 in the evening because there was nothing else to do and no one else to do it with. 3 days later, Thomas called. "Mom, happy belated birthday. I am so sorry. Rachel and I were at a conference in Denver and it completely slipped my mind. I feel terrible." Slipped his mind. My birthday, the day I became his mother, the day that made him possible. It slipped his mind. "It is okay, sweetheart," I said. "You are busy. I understand. I do not know why I said that. I did not understand. I understood nothing about this new version of my son. But I said it because that is what mothers do. We forgive before we are even asked. We make excuses for the people who hurt us. We smooth over the cracks because we are terrified that if we point them out, the whole thing will shatter." Summer came. I had not seen Thomas in person since the wedding. 5 months. 5 months without looking at my son's face, without hearing his voice in the same room, without being able to reach out and touch his arm the way I used to when he was telling me a story and I wanted him to know I was listening. I called and asked if I could visit. "I would love to see your apartment," I said, "and I will bring food. Whatever you like. Just tell me." Thomas hesitated. That pause on the other end of the line, I knew what it meant. It meant he was calculating. Not whether he wanted me to come, but whether Rachel would want me to come. "Let me check with Rachel," he said. "She has some things going on this month." Some things going on this month. As if I had asked to move in, not visit for an afternoon. He called back 2 days later. "How about the second Saturday?" Rachel says that works. Rachel says that works. Not "we would love to have you." Not "I miss you, Mom, come anytime." Rachel says that works. Like I was a repair appointment, like I was a delivery that needed to be scheduled. I drove to their apartment on the second Saturday. I brought a casserole, a pie, and a small plant for their windowsill. I wore my good dress. I did my hair. I tried to look like a mother worth remembering. The apartment was beautiful, modern and clean, with white walls and glass tables and art that I did not understand but pretended to admire. Everything looked expensive. Everything looked careful. Everything looked like Rachel. She greeted me at the door with that same careful smile. "Margaret, come in. The place is a bit of a mess, but make yourself at home." It was not a mess. It was immaculate. But I did not say that. Thomas hugged me. A real hug at least, and for a moment, standing there with my arms around my son, I felt something loosen in my chest. Something I had been holding too tightly for too long. He was still there. My Tommy was still there, somewhere behind the expensive suit and the careful words, and the wife who controlled the calendar. We ate lunch at the dining table. The casserole, which Rachel barely touched. The pie, which she declined entirely. "I am watching my sugar intake," she said. Thomas ate quietly, the way he always did. He complimented the food. He asked about the house. He asked if I needed anything fixed. "I am fine," I said. "Everything is fine." But then something happened that I was not prepared for. Rachel's phone rang. She answered it, spoke for a moment, and then turned to Thomas. "That was my mom. She and Dad want to come for dinner next Friday." I said yes. "Is that okay?" Thomas nodded immediately. "Of course, we will do something nice. Maybe that Italian place they liked last time?" Rachel smiled, a real smile this time, the kind that reached her eyes. "Perfect. Mom will be so happy." I sat there with my fork halfway to my mouth, watching this exchange. Rachel's mother, coming for dinner, no hesitation, no checking the calendar, no "let me see if that works." Just yes, of course, we will do something nice. I put my fork down, I folded my hands in my lap, and I felt something crack inside me. Not break, I was not there yet. Just crack. A thin, spidery crack, like a line on a windshield that you know will spread if you hit another bump. Rachel's parents visited every other week, I later learned. They had a standing invitation. They came for dinners, for brunches, for holidays. Rachel's mother helped decorate the apartment. Rachel's father played golf with Thomas on weekends. They were part of the family. They were welcomed, included, celebrated. And I was a second Saturday, once every 5 months, with a casserole that nobody ate. The visit lasted 3 hours. When it was time to leave, Thomas walked me to my car. We stood in the parking lot, and he said, "It was great seeing you, Mom. Let's do this more often. Let's do this more often." Another sentence that sounds like a door opening but is really a door closing. Because "let's do this more often" means I know I should see you more, but I probably will not. I drove home in silence. No radio. No music, just the hum of the engine and the sound of my own breathing and the question that kept circling in my mind like a bird that cannot find a place to land. What did Rachel's mother have that I did not? What made her worthy of every other week while I got once every 5 months? What made her family while I was just a visitor? I did not have an answer. I still do not. All I know is that Rachel's world became Thomas's world. Her family became his family. Her traditions became his traditions. Her mother became the mother he showed up for. And I became the mother he forgot. The breaking point came in November. Thanksgiving. The holiday that is supposed to be about family, about gratitude, about gathering around a table and saying, "Thank you for the people in my life." I had always hosted Thanksgiving, even after Carl died. Even when Thomas was in college and it was just the two of us, I would cook the turkey Carl's mother's recipe with sage and butter and love, and I would set the table for two, and Thomas and I would sit across from each other and say grace and eat until we could not move. It was our tradition, our sacred thing. The one day a year when the house did not feel empty. In October, I called Thomas to talk about Thanksgiving. I was already planning the menu in my head: turkey, mashed potatoes, green beans, cornbread, pecan pie. I would cook for 2 days. I would set the table with Carl's mother's china. I would put candles in the windows. I would make the house feel alive again, the way it used to feel when my family was whole. "Tommy," I said, "I wanted to talk about Thanksgiving. I was thinking I would cook, like always. You and Rachel can come in the morning if you like. We could watch the parade together, just like old times." There was a pause. That pause again, the one I had come to dread. The one that meant he was about to disappoint me, and he knew it. "Mom, about Thanksgiving?" He trailed off. Rachel and I were actually planning to spend it with her family this year. Her parents are hosting a big dinner. Her sister is flying in from Portland. It is kind of a big deal for them. A big deal for them. Thanksgiving with her family. Not with me. Not in the house where he grew up. Not at the table where his father used to sit. With them. I closed my eyes. I gripped the phone so hard I could feel the edges pressing into my palm. "Oh," I said. "Okay, that sounds nice. You could come too, Mom." I could ask Rachel if. No, that is their family time. I do not want to intrude. "You would not be intruding, Mom. It is fine, Thomas. Really. You go. Have a wonderful time. Tell Rachel's mother I said hello." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Are you sure? I do not want you to be alone on Thanksgiving. I will be fine. Maybe I will go to Dorothy's. She always has people over." I was lying. Dorothy had moved to Florida 3 years ago. I had not spoken to her in months, but I lied because I did not want Thomas to feel guilty. I did not want to be the reason he did not enjoy his holiday. I did not want to be a burden. That word, burden, it is the worst word in the English language. It is the word that mothers use to describe themselves when their children stop showing up. I do not want to be a burden. As if existing is a weight, as if needing love is an inconvenience, as if the woman who carried you for 9 months and raised you for 18 years should apologize for still being alive. Thanksgiving Day came. I woke up early, out of habit. My body did not know that there was no turkey to prepare, no table to set, no son to welcome home. My body still remembered the routine. It still expected the day to unfold the way it always had. I got out of bed. I made coffee. I I sat at the kitchen table and looked at the empty chair across from me. Carl's chair, Thomas's chair, nobody's chair. The house was so quiet I could hear the clock in the hallway. Tick, tick, tick. Each second measured and counted and wasted, each second a reminder that I was here, in this house, alone, while my son was somewhere else. At someone else's table, being part of someone else's family. I tried to watch television. The parade was on, but I turned it off after a few minutes. The happiness on the screen felt like an insult. All those smiling families, all those children on their parents' shoulders, all that togetherness, it was like watching a commercial for a life I used to have but could no longer afford. At noon, I made myself a sandwich. Turkey from the deli. Bread from the bag. No sage, no butter, no love. Just sustenance. Just enough to keep a body going when the heart has already stopped showing up. At 3 o'clock, the phone rang. Thomas. I picked up immediately, the way I always did, the way I always would. Happy Thanksgiving, Mom. Happy Thanksgiving, sweetheart. Are you having a good time? Yeah, it is great. Rachel's mom made this amazing prime rib, and her dad set up a football game in the backyard. It has been really fun. It was really fun. Prime rib. Football in the backyard, a house full of people and noise and laughter. Meanwhile, I was eating a deli sandwich in silence and talking to the clock. That sounds lovely, Tommy. How is Dorothy's? Are you having a good time? I looked around my empty kitchen. The unwashed coffee cup, the crumbs on the counter, the silence. It is wonderful, I said. Dorothy sends her love. Another lie. Another lie to protect my son from the truth. Another lie to keep the peace, to maintain the illusion, to pretend that I was fine when I was anything but fine. After he hung up, I sat at the table for a long time. I do not know how long. The afternoon light moved across the floor, slow and golden, like honey dripping from a spoon. I watched it travel from one side of the kitchen to the other. And when it finally reached the wall and faded, I realized that the whole day had passed. Thanksgiving was over. And I had spent it alone, lying to my son about being at a party that did not exist. That night, I did something I had not done since Carl died. I took out the photo albums, all of them, every single one. I spread them across the bed and I went through them, page by page. Thomas as a baby. Thomas on his first day of school. Thomas blowing out birthday candles. Thomas in his cap and gown. Thomas hugged me. Thomas smiled at me. Thomas looked at me like I was the most important person in the world. And I talked to the photographs. I know that sounds crazy. Maybe it is, but I talked to them because there was no one else to talk to. Where did you go, Tommy? I whispered. Where did my boy go? Christmas came 4 weeks later. I sent Thomas a package. I wrapped it carefully, a sweater I had knitted, a framed photograph of him and Carl from when he was little, a card that I wrote and rewrote 3 times because I wanted the words to be perfect. Dear Tommy, I hope this Christmas finds you happy and warm. I think about you every day. I am proud of the man you have become. All my love, always. Mom. He sent me a text on Christmas Day. Thanks for the package, Mom. Merry Christmas. Love you. That was it. No call, no visit, no let me come see you. Just a text. 14 words. That was what my Christmas was worth. 14 words on a screen. I did not receive a gift from him. I want to say that it did not matter. I want to say that I do not care about things like gifts. And it is true, I did not care about the object. I cared about the thought. I cared about the idea that my son would walk through a store or sit at his computer and think, what would Mom like? What would make her smile? I cared about being thought of. That is all. Just thought of. But he did not think of me. Not on my birthday, not on Thanksgiving, not on Christmas, and the notebook in my kitchen drawer with its careful record of calls and texts and silences was growing heavier with emptiness every day. January passed. February passed. March arrived, and with it, the anniversary of Carl's death. March the 7th, the day my husband closed his eyes and did not open them again. The day I became a widow. The day Thomas became fatherless. Every year since Carl died, Thomas and I had marked that day together. We would visit Carl's grave. We would bring flowers, yellow roses, Carl's favorite. We would stand there in the cold and remember him. Thomas would tell a story about his father. Something funny, something small, something that proved Carl had lived and mattered. And I would listen, and we would cry, and then we would go home and eat soup and sit together and be grateful that we still had each other. This year, I called Thomas a week before the anniversary. Tommy, March 7th is coming up. Will you come to the cemetery with me? That pause. That terrible, predictable pause. Mom, let me check. Check what? My schedule. Rachel and I have some things. It is your father's death anniversary, Thomas. He was quiet. I could hear him breathing. I could hear the weight of the moment pressing on both of us. I know, Mom. I know. I will be there. I promise. March 7th came. I drove to the cemetery alone. I brought yellow roses. I wore my warm coat because the wind was sharp and the sky was gray and the ground was still hard from winter. I waited by Carl's grave for an hour. 1 hour. Standing in the cold, holding yellow roses, watching the road for my son's car. He did not come. At the end of the hour, I put the roses on the grave. I knelt down and touched the stone, cold and smooth under my fingers, and I said, "He is not coming, Carl. Our boy is not coming." And that was the moment I stopped making excuses. That was the moment I stopped saying he was busy, he was distracted, he had things going on. Because there is no schedule full enough, no wife demanding enough, no life busy enough to make a man forget the day his father died. He had not forgotten. He had chosen. He had chosen not to come. And that was a different thing entirely. Forgetting is an accident. Choosing is a decision. And my son had decided that I was not worth the 30-minute drive. I drove home from the cemetery with the heater on full blast, but still shaking. Not from the cold, from something deeper, something that goes beyond temperature and reaches into the place where a mother keeps her faith in her child. That place was empty now. Not broken, not angry, just empty. Like a room that someone has moved out of and taken everything, even the curtains. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with a piece of paper and a pen. I did not plan what I was going to write. I just wrote. The way water flows when you remove the dam, not because it chooses a direction, but because it has been held back for too long. Dear Thomas, I wrote. I am writing this letter because I cannot say these things on the phone. The phone is too small for what I need to tell you. The phone cuts things short. It lets you hang up before the truth has finished speaking. So I am writing it down, where the words can stay as long as they need to. I stood at your father's grave today, alone. I held yellow roses and I waited for you. I waited for an hour. You did not come, and I realized, standing there in the cold, that this is not the first time you have not come. It is just the first time I have let myself see it clearly. You have been gone for a long time, Thomas. Not from the world, from me. From the mother who raised you, fed you, held you, worked for you, and loved you in every way she knew how. You have been gone since the day you got married, and I have spent every day since then pretending otherwise. Making excuses. Telling myself you were busy. Telling myself this was normal. Telling myself that you still loved me, even though every piece of evidence said otherwise. I am tired of pretending, Thomas. I am tired of calling and getting voicemail. I am tired of being a second Saturday, once every 5 months, squeezed in between Rachel's parents' weekly dinners and Rachel's sisters' visits, and Rachel's world that you have made your own. I am tired of eating Thanksgiving sandwiches alone and lying to you about parties that do not exist. I am tired of sending gifts that receive 14-word text messages in return. I am tired of being forgotten. I do not blame Rachel. I want to, but I cannot. Because Rachel did not make a vow to me. You did. Not in words, but in the way you lived for 26 years, in the way you sat at my table and ate my food and hugged me at the door, in the way you called me every day from college, in the way you held my hand at your father's funeral and said, "I will always be here, Mom." That was a vow, and you broke it. I do not need money from you. I do not need things. I do not need fancy dinners or vacations or gifts. I need you, Thomas. I need my son. I need to know that the 30 years I spent raising you meant something. I need to know that I am more than a name in your phone that you scroll past on your way to someone who matters more. But I also need you to know this. I will not chase you anymore. I will not be the one who always calls first, who always reaches out, who always holds the thread while you let go. I have been doing that for 3 years, and it is killing me. Not quickly, slowly. The way loneliness kills, the way silence kills, the way being invisible kills. If you want me in your life, you know where I am. I am in the same house, the same kitchen, the same chair. I have not moved. I have not changed. I am right where I have always been. I love you. I will always love you. That is not a choice. That is just what I am. A mother. Your mother. Even if you have forgotten what that means. Mom. I folded the letter. I put it in an envelope. I wrote his address on the front, and the next morning I drove to the post office and mailed it. Then I went home, and I waited. The waiting was the hardest part, harder than loneliness, harder than the missed birthdays and the empty Thanksgivings. Because this time, I was not waiting for a phone call or a visit. I was waiting for a verdict. I was waiting to find out if my son still had a heart that could hear me, or if the silence had become permanent. 3 days passed. 4, 5. On the 6th day, I started to accept that he might not respond, that the letter might have landed in his mailbox and been tossed aside, or read quickly and forgotten, or intercepted by Rachel and never delivered at all. I started to make peace with the possibility that this was my life now. This quiet house, this empty table, this invisible existence. On the 7th day, the doorbell rang. I was in the kitchen making tea. I was not expecting anyone. I never expected anyone. The doorbell was a sound that belonged to the past, like laughter or footsteps in the hallway. I walked to the door. I opened it. Thomas was standing on the porch. He looked terrible. His eyes were red and swollen. His hair was messy. His shirt was wrinkled, as if he had slept in it. He was holding my letter in his hand. I could see the envelope, creased and worn, like he had been holding it for hours, maybe days. He looked at me. And for the first time in 3 years, he really looked at me. Not through me, not past me, at me. At the lines on my face and the gray in my hair and the smallness of my body in the doorway of the house where I had raised him. And he said the 2 words I had been waiting to hear for so long that I had almost stopped believing they existed. I am sorry. He did not wait for me to respond. He stepped forward and wrapped his arms around me and held me. Tight. So tight I could barely breathe. And he cried. Not the quiet, dignified crying of a grown man, the deep, shaking, broken crying of a boy who has just realized what he has done, who has just seen for the first time the damage he has caused to the person who loved him most. I held him. I held my son in the doorway of our house, and I let him cry. I did not say it is okay, because it was not okay. I did not say I forgive you. Not yet, because forgiveness is not something you hand out at the door. It is something that has to be earned, slowly, carefully, over time. What I said was, "Come inside, Tommy. Come inside." He came inside. He sat at the kitchen table in his chair, the chair that had been empty for 3 years, and I made him tea, and I sat across from him, and we talked. We talked for 5 hours. 5 hours. The longest conversation we had had since he was a teenager. He told me everything. How Rachel's family had become the center of their world. How Rachel had never said, "Do not see your mother," but she had made it so easy to see her family and so complicated to see me that the path of least resistance always led away from my door. How he had told himself that I was fine, that I was strong, that I did not need him the way Rachel's mother needed Rachel. "I convinced myself you were okay," he said, because it was easier to believe that than to face what I was doing. I listened. I did not interrupt. I let him speak the way he had let me speak in my letter, fully, completely, without defense. "And then I got your letter," he said, "and I read it in the car, in the parking lot at work. And I could not move. I could not breathe. I just sat there, Mom, reading it over and over, and I heard your voice in every word. And I realized I could not remember the last time I heard your actual voice. Not on a phone, not in a text, your real voice, in the same room, talking to me the way you used to." He looked at me with those brown eyes, Carl's eyes, my eyes, the eyes of every person who has ever loved me, and he said, "I have been so lost, Mom, and I did not even know it. I thought I was building a life, but I was just building a wall between you and me, and I did not see it until you showed me. I reached across the table and took his hand. His hand was bigger than mine now, stronger, but it was still the hand I had held when he crossed the street. The hand I had held when the doctor gave us Carl's diagnosis. The hand I had held at the funeral and at the graduation and at every moment in between that mattered. "You are here now," I said. "That is what matters. I want to do better, Mom. I need to do better." "Then do better," I said. Simply, clearly, without anger or conditions. Just the truth. He stayed for dinner that night. I made soup, the same soup I always made, the simple kind, with whatever was in the kitchen. He ate 2 bowls. He washed the dishes. He dried them and put them away in the right places, because he still remembered where everything went. Before he left, he stood in the doorway and looked at the house, at the walls and the floors and the light fixtures and the nail hole where his growth chart used to hang. He looked at all of it the way you look at something you almost lost. "I will come back on Sunday," he said. "I will be here," I said. He came back on Sunday, and the Sunday after that, and the Sunday after that. He brought flowers once, yellow roses, the kind Carl used to like. He did not say why. He did not have to. I put them in a vase on the kitchen table, and every time I looked at them, I felt something warm in my chest. Not happiness exactly. Something quieter. Something more like healing. It has been 8 months since that day at the door. 8 months of Sundays. Thomas calls me now, not every day, but every few days. Real calls. Long calls. Calls where he asks about my garden and my health and the book I am reading and the neighbor's cat that keeps sleeping on my porch. Rachel is different from me now too. Not warm. I do not think she and I will ever be close, and I have made peace with that. But she is present. She comes with Thomas sometimes on Sundays. She eats my food without commenting on the oil or the sugar. She says, "Thank you, Margaret," and the way she says it sounds like she means it. Maybe she does. Maybe the letter changed something for her too. Maybe she read it and saw herself in it, not as the villain, but as someone who had been careless without knowing it. I do not know. I do not need to know. What I know is this: my son came back. Not all the way, not perfectly, but he came back. He remembered, and in the end, that is all I ever wanted. Not to be the center of his world. Not to be more important than his wife. Just to be remembered. Just to be seen. Just to matter. I am 64 years old. I live in a house at the end of a quiet street. I cook dinner most nights, and on Sundays I cook for 2. Sometimes 3. My son sits at the table with me, in the chair that used to be empty, and we eat together. We talk. We laugh sometimes. We sit in silence sometimes. And both feel right. I am not going to pretend that the scars are gone. They are not. There are still nights when I lie in bed and feel the echo of those empty months. There are still moments when the phone rings and my heart jumps, because some part of me is still afraid that the silence will come back, that this fragile, mended thing between us will break again. But I have learned something through all of this, something that I wish I did not have to learn. But I am grateful for knowing. A mother's love is not a guarantee of anything. It does not guarantee that your children will love you back the same way. It does not guarantee that they will remember you, or visit you, or call you on your birthday. It does not guarantee that they will choose you over someone else. A mother's love is a gift that you give freely, without a receipt, without a return policy, without any promise that it will be valued. And that is terrifying. It is the most terrifying thing in the world. To give everything you have to another human being and know that they might walk away, that they might forget, that they might choose a different table, a different family, a different Sunday. But here is what I have also learned. The love you give is never wasted. Even if it is not returned, it changes you. It makes you stronger. It makes you deeper. It makes you the kind of person who can stand in a cemetery alone, holding yellow roses, and still believe that love is worth it. I do not tell this story to make you sad. I tell it because I know there are mothers out there right now, thousands of them, maybe millions, who are sitting at empty tables, staring at silent phones, wondering what they did wrong, wondering why their sons do not call, wondering if they are invisible. You are not invisible. You are not a burden. You are not a complication or a second Saturday or a 14-word text message. You are a mother, and that is the most important thing a person can be. Even when the world, even when your own child forgets to tell you so. My son forgot about me for 3 years. 3 years of silence and distance and empty chairs. But he came back. He is not perfect. Our relationship is not perfect, but it is real. And it is ours. And every Sunday, when he walks through that door and sits at that table and eats my soup, I feel the same thing I felt the first time I held him in that hospital room on that rainy Tuesday in April. I feel whole, not because he completes me. A mother should not need her child to be complete. But because his presence reminds me of something I almost forgot during those dark, silent years. I am worth remembering. And so are you. Whatever your story is, wherever you are sitting right now, however long it has been since someone called or visited or said your name with love, you are worth remembering. Do not let anyone, not even the child you raised, convince you otherwise. The other day, Thomas called me in the middle of the afternoon. No reason, no news, no agenda. He just called. Hey, Mom. Hey, sweetheart. What are you doing? Just sitting in the kitchen, watching the light come through the window. That sounds nice. It is. We were quiet for a moment, and in that quietness I heard it. The old silence, the good silence, the one that is not empty but full of everything that does not need to be said because it is already known, already felt, already there. I love you, Mom. I love you too, Tommy. He hung up, and I sat in the kitchen and watched the light come through the window. And I smiled. A real smile. The kind that starts in your chest and rises slowly like bread, like morning, like hope. The light was golden. The house was quiet. And for the first time in a very long time, the quiet did not hurt. It felt like home. A son may forget to call. He may forget to visit. He may forget birthdays and holidays and anniversaries. But a mother never forgets. Because forgetting is not in her nature. Loving is. And love, no matter how bruised or neglected, has a way of finding its way home.